Hi everybody. Sorry this took a little longer than expected to get online, but had a little trouble with the first video and it didn't process right. So anyway, I'm back. Going to run through this second step. This is part two for our project or assignment M2A2. And last time we went through, imported the image, went through and drew this. Remember, starting from the outside, working our way in. Everything worked fine, no problem. So now we're going to talk about how to manipulate and create landform without contours and kind of doing it as a design study, just like you would molding things with clay. So there's a couple techniques. One involves the Soapskin bubble plugin, which we'll get to in a little bit. The other one involves one of the Fredoscale tools, which is over here, and it's called Fredoscale Radial Bending by Selection of Plane and Angle. So I'll run through how you can do that. And since this little park piece here is sitting along a stream valley, a stream bed, one of the things I thought was that it would make sense to bend these outer areas up to show that things are sloping down. So uh, the best way to do that is to do it before you actually put the soapskin and use the bubble plugin, because this geometry is really simple. And once you put the grid on it, all the triangulations gets more complicated. So but actually, before I get to that, the first thing I'm going to do is double click on my stream here. And since I know the stream bed has to sit the idea what I drew here was adjacent landform, embankment down to the stream, stream, embankment up, and park. So in order to create that appearance, I'm going to click and drag down. Now you'll notice that it's not really dragging down. I can't get the blue axis. So the first thing you want to do is hold the Alt key down. That allows for auto folding. You still have to work at getting the axis, but I'm looking at the readout down below. It says 2, 3. I'm just going to move it down and type 4 feet, enter, and that'll put it down at 4 feet. So, it doesn't have to be super steep embankment, just enough to show that there's slope down. And then we can do kind of stream bank plantings in there, whatever. Now, when we do that, it creates the slopes. And like right here, that looks pretty good, but right here, not so much. And over here, not so much at all. So we have this really steep slope. You can see it's really almost vertical there. So in order to get rid of that, we're going to use the soapskin to do that. And I'll come back to that in a little bit. Well, let's do it right now. Why not? So first thing I'm going to do, however, is get the eraser tool, hold the control key down, like it says, shift hide, control soften, and I'm going to soften all these extra lines that I created by that fold because they're not very graceful. So control smooth all these, and then I realize there's some little anomaly down here, which I don't know what this is, but I'm just going to delete it. I don't need it. Come back over here, control erase. I just want to make sure, you'll see some of these lines show up because they represent edges, profiles. So make sure you spin around, and if they disappear when you move, then you've got them. You just want to make sure that anything that needs, like this one's not disappearing. That disappeared. Those two, this one. So now if I move it around, look at it from above, all those things will disappear when I rotate a little bit, and I know I've got it okay. And also note when I click on this, it just selects a single surface. So let's do the soapskin for this, and then we'll go and use the radial bend. So again, double click on the skin. I'm going to add in maybe 30 segments, maybe 50 here, and then hit enter. And as we talked about, you'll notice it's going through and it's creating the grid, and it's below here, it's above there, it's totally not connected. That's the way it works. Just let it go, and in a second, now you can see it back here, and up front, it's connecting the edges. It's going through here, taking things down to snap right to along the edge of the stream, which is exactly what we want. So don't worry if it looks a little funny, and you can see some of the surfaces intersect and you can't see it. We're just going to let it go. It's going through this and then done. So I get back to my select tool. Now, if you can click on this and just get the surface, just delete it. If you get this, cut it, then delete this, click on the surface, delete it, and then do paste in place from the edit menu. But in this case, I could select the surface, so it just got rid of it. And now instead of those weird lines and angles, I've got a really nice smooth shape between there and there. So for right now, I'm going to double click, run the same thing, 50, enter, let it go through its paces. So again, this is real-time recording. you can really do this quickly. If you just get the method down, you understand what you're doing, you can create some landforms very quickly this way that look really smooth, really nice, and can give you a great perspective when you're done. Okay, done. Come back in here, click on this. I got the surface again, so I can just delete. And now I've got those two. And I'm gonna let the grid show through. We'll smooth them out a little later on. So I just pulled the stream down itself, used the Soapskin to create these embankments after I smoothed off the lines that were created by the autofill. Now I'm going to take care of this. Now in this case, I want this to slope up a little bit to show that this is draining down to the creek. And I am going to use the radial bend. This is one of the Fredoscale tools. But I'm going to right click on this and make it a group first. It has to be a group. Now once I have the group, I'm going to choose my tool. And I'm going to click, I don't want to bend it like right here. I want to move sort in here and come forward and use that as kind of the pivot point. So I'm going to click and hold the button down. And if you move this around, you get the different axes. Well, I want the green one. And if you don't, I've already done this once, so I've got a lot of divisions. If you don't, hit tab, make sure this says 10 right here, okay? So just hit the tab key anytime. You can type in 10 there. Usually defaults to -3. So the first click is where it's going to bend from. Second click is a reference point. Then click and drag up. So I'm dragging up. I'm going to make it a little steeper. There we go. And it just bends that right up there. Now if you wanted to taper it over a little bit, you could do it again. Click here. All right, get the green. Click here. Click and drag down. And now I get my select tool, you can see it kind of bent it right over. And one thing I do want to do is go in here into the group, select this, and just say soften. So I want all that to be softened off there. So I got create a nice little slope landform just from that flat surface. Really easy to do. And then now that I have a group, I'm going to double click in here, double click on this, and let's do this, the skin again. So again, 50, let's go 60, and then enter. And let it go. Again, so you can see it's starting flat. It's below on the left. It's below on the right. It's above in the middle. And it's going to go through, and you see it starting in the back and the front. It's connecting that to the top of that one. And eventually we'll explode these and connect them all together when we're done. But for right now, because we want to edit this separately, we're going to keep this grouped separate from the stream bank. Okay, boom, it just smoothed it up, and now you can see it fits in there. I'm going to select this. Again, I got to go inside here. Okay, so I'm in the group. I'm going to cut this, select this surface, delete it, choose edit, paste in place. And since I'm already inside a group, I can explode this. So now I'm still got that in a group, so I can manipulate that. So now I've got this nice landform, and well, in this case, I'm not going to use the soap bubble on it because I've already got the form that I want. And if I want to manipulate this, I will go through and use the artisan tools, which I'll come back to in a little bit. So if you want to really see what it looks like, double click, triple click, then right click and choose soften smooth edges. Soften coplanar, pull this up here, and now it's created a nice soft smooth surface, which I can still manipulate with the artisan plugin. So really quick, what I'm 9 minutes into the video, I pulled the stream down, done the embankments and this side. So let's go over and take care of these the same way. So I'm going to double click on this, double click, I'm going to get the ramp and that, and then I'm going to make that a group temporarily. So same basic process. I'm going to use the radial bend. I'm going to pick a spot, maybe right here. I'm going to click and hold the mouse down, get the green, click on that reference point, click and drag up. Then I'm going to come in here, this last bit. Okay, green, up, click, bend it over, And there we go. So we've got this path now that kind of works its way up the hill and up and over. Yeah, it's a pretty steep hill, but that's okay. All right, so now I can come in here, double click. I can double click on this, run my Soapskin. Let's go with 50. It's probably more than 90. Let's go with 30. That's good enough. Enter, and let's let it go again. All right, let's run through the paces, wait for it, watch for it, find the edges. There we go. It's a really amazing thing that's doing. It's calculating all those intersections and blending this mesh to fit all the edges and then smoothing it out in between. And the fact that we can do this and then use the Artisan plugin to manipulate that landform is really awesome. It's actually a great tool. You can, just like working at your desk with clay, you can manipulate landform this way. Okay, so, and we even have, because it's angled, you see we already have this little bit of inflation that happens there. So get my select tool. I'm going to click on that surface, delete it. And now if I wanted to inflate this even more, I've got that still intact as a group. I could click on the soap bubble and say 1, and let's just see what happens. Now in this case, I don't feel like that needs to be manipulated much, unless you want to do it by hand. So in this case, this is kind of an interesting thing. So I'm going to do a little experiment here while you're watching. So I type 1 and it's going down. And I think that's the reason is because this is the backside color. I am going to undo that, go back to my tool. I really have to soften smooth these edges. And right click on it, say reverse faces. Okay, now I don't know if this will work because I smoothed it, but I'm going to find out. Okay, let's try this. Now if I pick my bubble, type in 1. All right, it's not inflating, which may be because I smoothed it off and you have to leave it in that original shape, which is probably the case, but that's okay. I think the reason it goes down instead of up is because if this is white. Let's try it on the next one. So I actually like that landform just the way it is, but I'm going to come over here, double click, and let's, I don't really have, well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's run this Soapskin. Let's do 30. All right, enter, because that other surface doesn't matter. Let's do this one. So this one, because it's drawn in the opposite direction, the one on the top while this is running, I started here and I went around this way. So it's kind of, from here, it's counterclockwise. Here, well, I started there and went around here. That's kind of counterclockwise too. I don't know, but this one ended up blue and this one's coming out white. So it's something about the direction that it was created. This is front and this is back. Maybe the original way I drew that surface. But I think this one, because it's showing white, once it's finished, which I think it is, yes. Select this, delete it. Let's do the bubble and type 1. Yeah, I think that theory is correct. So if you see the white side, the light side, that's positive. When you type 1, it goes up. If you see the blue side, that's the back. That's the negative. So if you type 1, it goes down because it's going in the direction opposite what the face is. So again, this might be more than you want, but I'll leave it that way. So this side's a little flatter, that side's a little bigger. That's okay. Come in here, triple click, soften smooth edges. I think when I soften smooth the other one, it kind of eliminates that soap bubble effect because it needs those things showing. So I can explode this, I can explode this, and it's all still all inside that group. So we're about 14 minutes in, even with a little experimentation, and you can see I've got the sides of the landform. This is a little flatter. I bent that up and applied the soap bubble, soapskin and bubble to it. So I'm starting to get some interesting landforms. And of course, if I wanted to edit this, come in here, I triple click on that, go into my tools, artisan, and crease selection, and choose bounding vertices. And what that does, that tells artisan that all these bounding edges, the vertices, they're going to stay right where they are. So no matter what I do, the vertices aren't going to change, which means they can't go up and down. Okay, got 172. So now let's turn our hidden geometry on, get my sculpting tool, and I got a bigger landform here, so make it a little bigger, make sure I'm in sculpt, and gonna make it a little less influence. So I'm just, creating a little terrace there, maybe flattening it down closer and then moving it up. Again, I don't have an absolute smooth. Let's go in a positive direction here. I don't have an absolute vision for what this has to be. You can make it what you want. I'm just trying to create, again, you're doing this in Design Studio, right? You're trying to make something that represents now, one thing that I am doing, you'll notice I do, so it's just as well that I did this. You see what happened here? I just totally messed up the sidewalk because it's still, this is all in one group, so it's not isolated. If I would have kept this a separate group, so I'm going to back up. There we go. So I fixed this. So really, what I probably should do is turn this off, make the group out of it, go into the group, double click on it, go to Tools, Artisan, Crease Selection, Bounding Vertices. Okay, so now that I'm in here, now if I start manipulating this, let's go to Sculpt, let's make it down a little bit. Now that the geometry is kind of separated, you can see I'm not damaging the ramp anymore. I can come over here and if I overlap, it doesn't do anything to it. So that's kind of what you want to do. If you decide, well, it's a little too high, I don't really want that up quite that big. It doesn't look quite the same as the other side. And if you want to turn hidden geometry on, you can kind of see what you're doing a little bit easier. It's just a really fluid way to go ahead and do landform design. Okay, so I'm starting to pull this down a little bit. Maybe there's a swale that comes down in here. The natural drainage ways that are just happening come down toward the creek. So we can go in there and start creating those kind of natural variations. Okay, so let's turn the geometry off and go back here. So there's our landform that we did the skin. We bent it up with the radial bend, and then we applied the soap skin to it, and then we used the bubble to puff it up a little bit, and then we used the artisan tools, which kind of gives us a really natural looking landform that flows down from the top to the bottom. Okay, so that's kind of how to deal with those outside edges. And again, I always start from the outside, work my way in. These other places in here, these you can just put, we're going to do later because we're actually going to take this interior area and drop it down, create these ramps. And then once that's done, it's just a matter of taking each of these places. And also remember, we're going to have retaining walls here and retaining walls here. So I'm going to stop this video here, get it posted so you can see that basic manipulation. And then the third video, I'll take this sunken area, drop it down, do the ramps, get that done, and then show you how to finish finish off the rest of these landforms. And once you do that, you're ready to start putting components in there.